There is no press release when they deploy, no parade when they return, no interview, no documentary crew, just a door that closes, and a mission that never officially happened. They are called 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta. The world calls them Delta Force. The US Army officially pretends they barely exist, but the operators inside that unit, the ones who survived the most brutal selection process. In the American military, they exist very, very much, and today we're going inside. Not for the myth, not for the action movie version, but for the real thing. The process, the pressure, the life, at every rank. Level 1. The candidate. You've been in the Army for at least 2 years. You're a staff sergeant or above. You've deployed. You know what combat looks like. And still, you raised your hand. The packet sits on your desk. Delta Force Assessment and Selection. Most people never apply. Not because they're afraid of failing, but because they're afraid of what applying says about them if they do. You submit the packet anyway. You start training harder. You ruck more, sleep less, push further than you ever have. Not because someone told you to. Because you already know, whatever is coming, it will not be like anything before. Level 2. Assessment and Selection. The Hills. You arrive at Camp Dawson, West Virginia. The Appalachian Mountains are waiting. No one welcomes you. No one explains what's coming. That's the first lesson. In this unit, you are expected to operate without hand-holding. The first day is a standard physical assessment. Running, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups. You're not nervous about the standard assessment. You're nervous about what comes after. Because everyone who arrives here passed the Army's tests already. This isn't about fitness. This is about something else entirely. The ruck marches begin. No pace set. No finish time given. Just be at that grid coordinate. You find it. New coordinate. You find that too. The weight on your back grows. The distances grow. The terrain gets worse. And the cadre watches. They don't cheer. They don't encourage. They just watch. Because they're not measuring how fast you move, they're measuring something harder to fake. Who are you when nobody is watching? Level 3. The long walk. Nobody tells you what day it is anymore. Sleep is rationed like water in a desert. Your feet are past pain. They've entered something you don't have a word for yet. The long walk is the final rucking event of selection. No official distance published. No official time limit published. Estimates from former candidates range from 40 miles to over 60. In the mountains. Alone. With a ruck that weighs what a small person weighs. You don't think about the finish line. You stopped thinking about the finish line hours ago. Now, you think in steps. Just the next step. Just that rock. Just that ridge. And when a man ahead of you stops, sits down on the trail, and doesn't get back up, you don't stop to ask if he's okay, because you already know he made his decision, and you have to make yours. So you step around him, and you keep moving. Level 4. Selection complete, the call-out. You made it through the hills, but selection isn't over, not even close. Now comes the psychological evaluation. Interviews. Assessments. A board of operators who have seen everything, and are very good at seeing through everything. They don't want you to be impressive. They want you to be honest. There's a difference. They ask questions you don't expect. Not, what's your PT score? But, tell me about a time you were wrong. Tell me about a decision that cost someone. Tell me what you're afraid of. The men who fail here don't fail because they can't answer. They fail because they try to give the right answer instead of the true one. You give the true one. And a few days later, your name appears on a list. You've been selected. You don't celebrate. You've learned enough by now to know selected just means the real work hasn't started yet. Level 5. The Operator Training Course. 6 months. Give or take. The Operator Training Course, the OTC, is where selected candidates become Delta operators. If selection was about surviving, RTC is about performing. Marksmanship first. Delta Force is known across the special operations community for one thing above all others: shooting, not spraying rounds. Surgical, deliberate, accountable shooting. You will fire tens of thousands of rounds. Moving, reloading, transitioning. Low light, no light, through doorways, around hostages, always around hostages. Because Delta doesn't just fight wars. Delta rescues people. Hostage rescue, high-value target capture, direct action with zero margin for error. You also learn explosives, communications, intelligence reading, language basics, vehicle operations, trauma medicine, and above all, decision-making under pressure so extreme that most people's minds simply stop working. Yours cannot. Level 6. The new operator Staff Sergeant/Sergeant First Class. You're on a squadron now. A troop. You are the youngest person in the room by skill, not by age. And the veterans in that room have forgotten more than most soldiers ever learn. You watch. You absorb. You speak only when you have something worth saying. Because in Delta, rank is a formality. Respect is earned by competence. Full stop. The first real deployment comes. You can't say where. You can't say what. You probably won't say anything to anyone for years, maybe ever. But you will remember the way the briefing room went quiet before the mission. The weight check. The weapons check. The look exchanged between you and the man next to you, not words. Just acknowledgement. We're ready. Level 7. The seasoned operator Sergeant First Class/Master Sergeant. You've been on enough missions now that the nerves have changed shape. They used to feel like fear. Now they feel like focus. Same sensation, different relationship. You've been in rooms that went wrong. You've made decisions in fractions of seconds that you still think about years later. Not with regret, with examination. Because that's how you get better. After-action reviews. Brutal, honest. No rank in the room when mistakes are discussed. If you made an error, you say so. If someone else made one, you say so. Because the only thing worse than a mistake is a mistake that happens twice. You've also started carrying something else. Losses. Not many, but enough. Men you trained with. Men you trusted with everything. Men whose families you know. You carry them quietly. The way operators carry everything without making it someone else's burden. Level 8. The Team Leader Master Sergeant. Now it's yours to lead. Not a squad. Not a platoon in the conventional sense. A team of men who are each, individually, among the most capable human beings on the planet. Your job is not to be the best in the room. Your job is to make the room work. That's a different skill entirely. You plan missions now, not just execute them. You study the target, the building layout, guard rotations, local patterns, contingencies for the contingencies. Because in Delta, the mission plan lasts until the first door opens. After that, it's all decision-making. You brief your team. They ask hard questions. You expect them to. Because the man who doesn't ask hard questions in the briefing asks them with his life in the field. Level 9. The Squadron Sergeant Major's GM/CSM. You've been in Delta for over a decade, maybe 15 years. You've forgotten what a normal schedule feels like. You've missed birthdays, anniversaries, funerals, graduations. The people who love you have learned not to ask when you're coming home, because you don't always know. Now you oversee an entire squadron, multiple teams, multiple missions running simultaneously, intelligence feeds, logistics, personnel. You see the full picture now, and the full picture is heavy, because with every mission your squadron runs, you carry all of them, not in the field, in the mind. Every man who left, every variable you couldn't control, every outcome you had to live with, and you do, because that's the job. Level 10, the Commanding Officer Colonel. Your desk is covered in briefings. You've read things this week that most 4-star generals haven't seen. You coordinate directly with the Joint Special Operations Command, the CIA, the National Security Council. At this level, war is policy. And policy has consequences that don't show up in reports. You came up through those mountains in West Virginia. You executed missions that still aren't public. You lost men. You made calls that saved others. Now you authorize the missions. You look at the same kind of briefing packages you used to receive as an operator, and you sign your name. That signature means go. And somewhere tonight, because of that one word, a team of men will quietly leave a base, disappear into the dark, and do something the world will never know about. You don't need them to know. You just need it done. Ending. The reality of Delta Force. You started as a candidate, standing at the base of a mountain, with a ruck you weren't sure you could carry, and a destination nobody would confirm. And you moved through the levels. From a soldier who wanted to be selected to an operator who made the selection meaningful. From a man following orders in a troop to a man whose signature sets others in motion. But here's what nobody tells you. Before you raise your hand for this, the hardest part of Delta Force isn't selection. It's the years after. The deployments that stack on deployments. The things you see that don't leave. The quiet that follows you home. The men who make it through aren't the ones who felt nothing. They're the ones who felt everything. And kept going anyway, not because they had to. Because they understood, in a way most people never will, that somewhere on the other side of that mission, someone goes home alive. Someone sees their family again. Because these men existed. Because they trained until training wasn't enough. And then trained more, because they chose the hard thing every single time. And high retention close, because Delta Force isn't a unit you join, it's a standard you spend your entire career trying to be worthy of. And the quiet professionals? They're quiet for a reason, because the work speaks for itself.